Welcome to the Ask Brien podcast radio show, where you'll hear from some of the most successful founders and CEOs of businesses and startups, sharing their best advice for success and even some stories on how their mistakes actually make them even more successful. Now, here are your hosts, Brien and Tracy.
Welcome. You're listening to KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, it's another week and another show for the Ask Brien radio show. And each week we have a good lesson on business and a business startup person. But for people that don't know Ask Brien or have never tuned in to Ask Brien, we always start off the show explaining why Ask Brien is spelled with an E. Because most people, when they went to school, Brien was B-R-Y-A-N or B-R-I-A-N, and everyone doesn't understand why our name is Brien. Some people have thought out, and there's some truth to this, that it could have something to do with Irish, because O'Brien is a very common name. People go to the O'Brien pub, and O'Brien is a name. And not only that, but the person who's going to explain this is Irish, so maybe he can explain why we have O'Brien and Ask Brien, and what's Brien about.
I mean, my last name is not O'Brien, so, I mean, that would be...
You are Irish.
I am Irish, this is true. This is absolutely true.
And there's no E in Irish.
That is also true. There is an E in Ireland.
Patty, every week.
I know.
Change
Every
the last name. I don't understand. I don't understand.
He technically is an Irishman.
That
has
true.
name.
That was a good one, actually.
Oh, man. Ireland also has them, but anyways.
But if you were looking at the grammatic correct spelling, that would be M-A-N, because he's a man singular, so therefore there is still no E.
Fair.
Well, we're not a grammar show, so... And if you've looked at what most millennials are dealing with, grammar is not exactly the top subject anymore. It is not. Emily's giving me this look like,
okay,
are you
we
kidding me?
don't know why that has anything to do with anything, but it was
I don't
valid
know.
point.
We just don't like to spell out the whole word. Takes
Exactly.
too long.
Exactly.
It's fast. It's efficient.
So people are trying to figure this out. Okay, I've been on the show for like 2 minutes, and I'm trying to figure out why
Right.
there's Ian Brien, and we haven't heard one word except for O'Brien, the Irishman.
And men.
Well, maybe there's two of you.
Anyways, the E's also kind of have to do with like the theme of Ask Brien. There's a number of them we have. One of the main ones is engineer, as in, the engineer that runs the show. That would be engineers. That would be...
Where's the clap?
What?
The
You don't even have a clap for
be
yourself,
the engineers. That would be not only myself, but engineer Emily.
It's me.
It's
just
gonna
me.
be.
We're still working on the sound parts. Okay, we'll eventually get that.
Outside of that, we have empathy, which you were not being very empathetic with either.
Well,
of
we're not
us.
going to tell them this week, because usually we go about the shoe exercise, but we're not going to go through that today.
Fair enough. The other ones we have education, because we try to educate everybody on our show.
Well, education is very important. In fact,
Very true.
our guest today went to the same university I did.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
Awesome.
University of Buffalo. All right. She got it.
Oh my God.
That was a boo.
Buffalo.
Where did that
That's because it's Buffalo with a boo.
Oh my goodness. Outside of that, we have experience, because everybody that appears in the Ask Brien show is very experienced in their field.
And what's qualification for experience?
You need 10,000 hours, sir.
And how do you get 10,000 hours?
I don't know the math. I never remember.
50 weeks a year, because you take 2 weeks off for vacation. 40 hours a week. That's 2,000 times 5 years is 10,000.
Listen, you're lucky that I remembered 10,000 hours. You're lucky you remembered that. That's enough math for me.
Well, yeah. Well, it's because you only have 5 fingers on one hand and 5 fingers on the other. So anything above 11, you're in trouble.
Yeah, I guess so. Outside of that, almost similarity with experience, we have experts, which also kind of goes into that whole experience thing. Because
Absolutely. Although, so people always ask that question. That is, you don't have to have 10,000 hours, not every expert. For instance,
Right.
if Mark Zuckerberg was on the show, 20 years ago, he might have had 1,000 hours worth of work, but he would be considered an expert.
right, fair enough. Outside of that, we have...
I'm getting these strange looks from Emily. Like, what are you talking about? Who are you?
We do have two. We have some, in this show, we bring a little bit of the enthusiasm and...
Excitement!
And we have Tracy's favorite. Go for it, Trace.
Electrifying.
Grease lightning.
Grease lightning, electrifying.
Although today I'm kind of exhausted.
Hey, that's an E.
That's a
an E.
baddie. That's a baddie. We only have positive. We have a positive mental attitude and only positive attitude because the altitude is determined by your attitude.
Wait, I kind of like that.
That's actually really good.
I might go write that down.
Your altitude in life is determined based on your attitude. That's a very, very famous quote.
That rhymes too.
I've got low altitude today, but I've got high attitude. So I don't even know how that works.
Well, we'll put you on an airplane. Your altitude will go high.
It's because you're an Aries, Tracy.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha, sister. All right.
Oh my goodness.
Even astrology gets into this show.
That's an A. Am I forgetting anyone, or did I hit them all?
Exceptional. Did we talk about exceptional? I mean,
that's a new one.
Our guest is exceptional.
Well, you missed the biggest one. Emily starts with an E.
I already said Emily.
No, you didn't. You talked engineer.
I said engineer Emily.
Well, kind of like...
It's okay. I'll be talked about more than once.
Okay.
Kind of trying to fit
Do
two
not
into
open
one.
that door, Emily, ever. Do not.
What's wrong with Pandora? Anyway, and it's not the radio show streaming service, Pandora's Box. Oh, yes.
Greek mythology, I see.
Well, we do everything. We are educational here.
Very true.
But, the guest is going to be on for 10 more minutes before we take a break? And she's going what did I get myself into? So, without any further ado, and why do I act with the word?
A-D-I-E-U, because every single letter minus the D is a vowel.
That's right. We're talking about all E's, all A's, all vowels. So when we have a do, we actually have that ability.
That is true. And that rhymes.
All right. Ashley, you there?
I am here.
So let's go a little bit about your background. Currently, you have this business model, but before you have this business model, what did you do before that?
Well, just like many entrepreneurs, I did not wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be my own business. The same thing, someone didn't wake up and say, hey, I want to stand at the edge of a cliff and jump off, So I grew up in the mindset that I had to go to college, get a 9-to-5, stay in the same job for X amount of years and retire in my 60s. So I took many different paths to get where I am today. And my undergraduate degree is in music and theater, and my master's degree is in education, which was my safety net. But I spent the majority of, I would say, my 20s performing as a working singer. And eventually I found that I loved working behind the scenes at an international talent agency. And I would help talent land their dream jobs and opportunities such as movies and TV shows, on stage, commercials, and modeling. So that's where I started out and what my background is before I became what I am today, which is a marketing strategist and copywriter.
So as a talent agent person, were you calling the studios or were the studios calling you? Which way did it work typically?
So what we would do is we would send the talent out to casting agents, their headshots out, sending them to auditions, and also doing talent development and coaching, which is where I ended up being before I started my own business.
And what business did you start?
So I am a marketing strategist and a copywriter, and I follow the StoryBrand framework. So I am very much a solopreneur. And so throughout my experience in doing this, I found that many women experts struggle to get their brand visibility that they really want and they deserve, especially in an oversaturated market. So as a marketing strategist and copywriter, I help entrepreneurs turn their passion into a standout message that attracts, engages, and converts so they can stop feeling overlooked and start being recognized and paid as an expert in their industry, which is what everybody wants.
Wow, paid. That's a good concept, right? If you get paid.
Paid, yes.
You know what? I don't want to talk about money per se, but it certainly doesn't hurt. So let's go into that, though, a little bit further. What exactly is story branding? What does that mean?
Great question. So StoryBrand was created by Donald Miller, and he wrote the book called Building a Story Brand. And what the framework is it's a 7-step process that follows the art and the psychology of storytelling. And what it does is position the ideal client and customer as the hero of the story as opposed to yourself. So you act as a guide and your business tells the story of the hero, which is your ideal client and customer. And they do this through a 7-step framework, which turns into the basis for your whole marketing strategy. So it's called StoryBrand. And I received the certification after being a longtime fan. I bit the bullet, became a certified guide, and that is what my whole business is based off of, and that's how I help my clients.
So how do people find you?
Most of my marketing efforts are organic, so nothing like paid ads or anything, but they'll find me on Instagram, Referrals. If you go to clarifyyourmessage.com, you can search all the certified StoryBrand guides. And if you scroll through there, someone can click on my profile and contact me, or on my website. I get a lot of hits off my website.
And are you the only one in the company, or do you have others?
Nope, I am a solopreneur. It's just me and myself and I running, wearing all the hats.
So what are some of your biggest challenges by being a one-person business?
Oh, wow. That is a great question. I would say my biggest struggle is, keeping up with your own marketing. It was actually, especially if you're a marketing strategist, is very challenging. So carving out the time to work on your own business is so important, especially if you are a solopreneur, because normally we are, constantly working for our clients, and as we should be, but then our own business kind of goes to the wayside. So carving out that time to work on your own business and implementing your own strategies and everything that you've learned from other experts. And in the future, if you have the funds and the resources to outsource, that is, obviously the best way to go. But when you're first starting out, making sure you have that dedicated time to work on your business is so important for your growth and scaling.
And working, usually it's more than a 40-hour week for most entrepreneurs. Very few that I'm aware of have created a business successfully that didn't work 40 hours. I know people do try that side hustle because they want to, keep their hands on, I need the 9-to-5 job to pay my bills, but on the same token, I'm trying to start this new business. It's very hard to do that, even if you're working an extra 20 hours on top of that, because you just don't have the time to complete everything.
Yeah. When you get in that groove, you can learn how to work smarter, not harder. So that's how I really work in my business. But you're right. When you first start off, it's like, you hustle until your eyes bleed. But that's what I try to teach my clients not to do, so they can enjoy the life and the freedom that they first set out to create for themselves by taking the dive into entrepreneurship.
So is this certification that you have with the StoryBranding, is that like a coaching concept?
It's a marketing strategy. So it's a marketing strategy concept. So really starting from the beginning, and the whole point of it is to clarify your message in your marketing, because that's what's going to attract your ideal client to you. So using this framework, it's really going to clarify that message and make your mission and your vision forefront and center, but also how you help these clients. And that's what this framework does.
Okay, Ashley. I love the fact that when you launched your business as a brand marketing strategist, that you made a conscious decision to get certified prior to adding that into your services. Tell me about that decision process.
Of course. So, Tracy, actually, when I started, I had no type of certification or experience in marketing. So I was working as a single mom at this talent agency, and I was at a 9-to-5, and I decided that my creativity, my freedom, and my income was completely capped. So I decided to make the dive into starting my own business and working for myself. So this was about 2016, I believe, and I loved social media at the time. So I said how to be a social media manager, and all of this advice, popped up. So I just Frankensteined my business together. And I think a lot of people do that, especially if you're in the online entrepreneur space. So I Frankensteined it together. I was grabbing this download and that download, and how to send an invoice, to how to set up your sales funnel. And I did not make the decision to invest big bucks in the StoryBrand certification. I picked up the book, Building a StoryBrand by Donald Miller. I read it from front to back, and then I flipped it over and read it from front to back again. Went to his website, and they kept on mentioning StoryBrand guides. And I'm like, what is StoryBrand guide? So I went to the website, and I saw, click here to become certified. I jumped on the phone with this gentleman, and he told me about the program. And he actually pre-qualified me, interviewed me, and said, we'd love for you to be part of this program. And he told me the price tag, and I almost threw up. I was like, oh my God, people don't even spend this on college. And I sat there and I'm like, can I do this? Can I do this? And I said, you know what? I'm going to do it. And I am going to take the certification and I'm paying it off in 3 months. I made that promise to myself. And I went through the program. It was grueling for a week-long program with a bunch of other people, a bunch of other guys, I think 100. And I did. I stepped out of that program, and within 3 months, I paid that certification fee back. And since then, I've been on the road to having a 6-figure business as a solopreneur.
That's a great story. And that when you were looking at that investment, were you at the same time, because that's quite an aggressive goal to pay that amount off in 3 months. Were you also applying some of the same strategies that you were being taught to marketing your own business? What was the key in you being able to go from where you were in 3 months to be able to pay that off?
Honestly, it was confidence, and it was resources, and it was community. Those are the 3 things that I would say helped me the most and pushed me to 10x my prices. I was very ambitious, and I never considered myself an ambitious and confident person, but I received this prestigious certification that people strive to get and strive to apply in their business. I received this certification, and I got this confidence to 10x my prices, that I knew what I was talking about. I had this framework that was proven. Then I received a community of other StoryBrand certified guides who started giving me referrals. I started building relationships. And I will tell you, I think the secret to marketing your business is not in social media. It's not in all of that noise. I really believe it's relationship building, because all of my clients in the past year, since being a StoryBrand marketing strategist and copywriter, have come from referrals.
I completely agree with you. But at the same time, being an online-only business, it's difficult. And then combine that with 2 years of the pandemic. If someone was just starting out growing an online service-based business, what would you recommend to them in order to activate those referrals and keep them coming consistently?
Well, the first thing that you need to do before starting a business is clarify what your message is. So people say, I want to start a business, and they start, advertising to everybody and anybody, and they're not bringing those ideal clients in. So in the StoryBrand framework, what you need to do is not make it all about you and how you can swoop in and save the day as the hero. There's only room for one hero in every story, and that's your ideal client. So clarifying your message, how you're helping them, what your ideal client's pain points are, what your services are, and telling this beautiful story of the ideal client is going to attract them, engage them, and eventually convert. So the first step is not setting up your website, not doing a logo, clarifying your message and getting those words out there, getting those thoughts into words and putting it out there in your marketing strategy. First step, and that's key to attracting those clients.
But in terms of actually securing the referrals, though, are you recommending that they ask within their network for referrals? What is a tangible thing that people can do to actually boost referrals for their business?
Tracy, that's a great question. So when I first started out, what I did is join Facebook groups. So I found where my ideal client was hanging out. I clarified my message, where they were hanging out, and started typing in keywords into Facebook. And all of these Facebook groups started popping up. Women entrepreneurs helping women entrepreneurs, boss moms. These are, if you're women, these are groups that you can join, to huge groups. And I started building relationships in there, giving value, not just promoting my business, but going through the posts. And if someone says, hey, I'm in search for X, Y, and Z, can anyone help me? You start commenting on those. People are asking for advice. You start putting your expertise in. Again, not positioning yourself as the hero, but how you can help them. And then the referrals start in naturally. And then people start getting to know you. If your face pops up enough in these Facebook groups, then people are going to start referring you and tagging you. Hey, I heard that Susan's really good at video marketing, and why don't you contact her? So these Facebook groups, when I first got my first 3 clients within the first month of my business, it's because I joined Facebook groups. And a lot of people think Facebook is antiquated, but for a business, it still is a thriving environment, especially for online service providers.
And speaking of ideal client, who is your ideal client?
Ideal client. So I work with women experts who are personal brands, consider themselves personal brands. So keynote speakers, coaches, authors, entertainers, consultants. So anyone that considers themselves a personal brand and they have a story to tell, a message that can make an impact, that's who I work with.
And what was the main decision factor for you in choosing to focus solely on women entrepreneurs?
They are who I tend to gravitate more the most because they are natural nurturers. They're natural storytellers. They have such big hearts and they're so value driven that I felt drawn to that because I had a connection with them. So anybody that had a story to tell who was a nurturer, again, living a value-driven life is who I was connecting with, and I felt that I could serve them the best.
And in terms of serving them, what are some of the different types of services as you and your own personal brand and your business model itself? How do you monetize your business, and what are your service offerings?
My main service offering is copywriting, and from there, I also provide marketing strategy. So my superpower is quick turnaround. So I ultimately save women entrepreneurs time because they are focusing, usually if someone's not a writer or not strong with words, they can spend hours, days, months on writing a website, social media posts, their email marketing, and all of these things that require a certain set of skills. So what I do is I do something called VIP days. And so I have a strategy session with the woman entrepreneur, and we sit down and we bang out the StoryBrand framework. And then from that strategy session, I carve out one day and I will knock out the whole entire scope of work. So say it's a website, I will knock it out for them in a day. And then after that, we schedule something called a writer's room where I sit with them and we will edit and go over whatever it is I provide, whether it be their website, emails, social media posts in batches or marketing strategy, and we go over it together, and then I deliver it to them. And from there, they are ready to go, pass it off to their marketing department or ask me for any type of referrals to give to them. So that's how I work, and that's how I monetize, and I work smarter, not harder. So these projects are quick, as you can see. I mean, that's 2 meetings and 1 full day, and I'm able to provide for my family and scale my business. And yeah, that's how I do it.
So I want to hone in on what you said in terms of scaling your business. And so it sounds like your packages have a beginning, a middle, and an end, which is great. And you have a very structured workflow in terms of the time allocated per client. But at the end of the day, you are only one person. There's only so many hours you can structure within and only so many clients you can serve, which I think is probably one of the biggest challenges with solopreneurship. And I would love to know if you have put together a next step plans for how you scale outside of just the one-on-one capacity.
Yes, I have. So I have 2 ideas that are brewing that will happen. So the first one is an agency model. So where the agency model comes in is as a client comes to me and says, I want social media, or I want social media management, or SEO, or website design, I would handle the overall strategy through the StoryBrand framework. And then I will have my contractors and eventually employees that can implement this. So this is a scaling model that I'm very interested in. And then I would keep my one-on-one offerings as well on the side. And then another idea I have had is a membership community where I would provide coaching and a course membership on a platform where people can learn about building their business and then have a group and a community that they can come to network and support each other and receive feedback from myself or anybody else that I employ and trust in their expertise. So those are some, 2 different models that I'm looking for in let's say, a 5-year plan. So I'm very excited about those. The one-on-one is great because, like I said, smarter, not harder. I could have, 5 clients in a month and easily make 10, 15 grand. But if I want to scale more, then this is the way to go. And I'm very excited about it.
And because you work with a lot of women entrepreneurs, and you are one, and you're also a mom with 2 kids, right?
Yes.
So what would be a couple of tips that you would provide for working moms out there, whether they're entrepreneurs or just balancing working and being a mom? What are some of the tips that you would provide for women who are juggling it all?
Great question. And what I have learned is managing your time efficiently and effectively, making sure that you are present in what you're doing. I heard this quote once. It was like a guru, a yoga guru that says, when you're drinking tea, drink tea and be mindful. So when you're working, you are working. You're focusing on 2 to 3 hours, however much time you have, that's when you're working. But when you're with your children and with your family, put your phone on Do Not Disturb. Do not answer emails, making sure you're present, because they're who you're doing this for. You are doing this for your family and for that freedom. So being present with them is what's important. So time management is so important when it comes to being, I guess you could say, a mompreneur or mother entrepreneur. And that's what I would suggest, really focusing on and really refining that time management strategy and those skills to effectively live like a holistic life.
Ashley, we had a couple questions. So one of our call-in people were asking, I know you're focusing on women entrepreneurs and mompreneurs, et cetera, but I mean, your target market is any entrepreneur, correct?
Anybody that has, the same values as I do, which is, having a passion and having a message and telling a story, I will absolutely work with them. Actually, I was just saying on the break that my first StoryBrand client, the day after I finished my certification, it was a man. So that was, went to clarifyyourmessage.com, and he saw my profile, picked me out of it, and we started working together, and he is doing fantastic.
And go just a little bit more on that, and Tracy has some more questions, but how did you get your first client? Where did they find you?
They found me on the StoryBrand website, and then he went to my website and read a little bit more about me and contacted me right from my website.
One more, and then I'm going to turn it over to Tracy. So you do copywriting.
Lay it on me.
You said you do copywriting. Now, copywriting is such a broad term. Are we referring to copywriting in terms of advertising? Are we talking about copywriting in terms of blog posts? How do you define copywriting? I mean, it's such a broad category.
So my husband once asked me, what is copywriting? And I said, I write words that sell beats. So I write words that sell stuff. So any type of marketing that is geared toward, any type of writing that's geared towards conversion. So maybe not sales, but downloading an ebook or booking a call or a consult, anything that leads to that. That could be a blog post. And at the end, it's providing value that leads to any type of conversion. So mainly I do work with any type of marketing tactics. So social media, website, email marketing, sales funnel, blog posts, and all that jazz.
That's a very good show, All That Jazz. It's a great movie.
A great song. It's a great song.
And you said you were a singer at one point, right? So
yes, at one point.
Without any further ado, Tracy has a couple more questions.
Right. So piggybacking on the question that Peter had about content creation, do you work with a specific content repurposing strategy? So how does that, if you have a beginning, a middle, and an end with your customer engagement, how do you support them in ways for ongoing content creation? Because that's so incredibly important now to be able to be creating fresh content in your own voice and representing your brand. Do you have any tips for how people can repurpose their content?
Yes, absolutely. So I don't do ongoing social media management. That doesn't align with my business model right now, but I do provide batch social media captions. So if somebody wanted to have an ongoing relationship with me, they like the way I hit their brand voice, they can book me to pump out, 20 captions for them to use over the course of a month. And then that relationship could keep on going. And then they take care of the execution of posting. But a really fun repurposing strategy that I actually presented this to the StoryBrand community last week is they were specifically talking about Instagram. So what I would train somebody to do is pick up a point of the customer story. So talk about, let's say their pain points. write a social media post or an Instagram post about their pain points and really empathize with them and really talk about how you understand this pain point that they're having. You post it on Instagram. The way you can repurpose it on each of the features of Instagram is you can share it to an Instagram story directly. After that, you can post the actual copy to Instagram stories as well. So now you have 2 Instagram stories. After that, you can actually read off the caption in a video. So now you're having the shared post, you're having the copy, and now you're having a video that you're speaking on. After that, you take the 3 main points of your social media content, that specific content about pain points, and you turn it into an Instagram reel. So now you're repurposing one piece of content, and you are utilizing all aspects of the Instagram features, which Instagram is going to love that you are using all of their features and pop you up on the algorithm. In addition, you can repurpose any type of content to email marketing, blog posts, and podcast episodes. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and I really encourage people to use one piece of content and really zhuzh it up, or contact myself or another copywriter to zhuzh it up and use it for each of those platforms so you can work smarter, not harder.
Right, which is so important right now with efficiency. And there are so many challenges that are happening in social media right now. How do you recommend someone finding a platform for them? So you were saying earlier that Facebook worked really well for you in marketing within Facebook groups, and then the Instagram strategy that you just laid out is, highly efficient. When someone only has the ability to focus on one platform, for example, how do you advise them in how to choose that platform?
Great question. So Instagram is my playground. I love to play on there, but my ideal clients, those high-paying entrepreneurs, hang out on LinkedIn. So what I did is I did my research and I asked my target audience, where do you like to hang out the most? I used surveymonkey.com. I created a survey and I blasted it out to my email list, to my friends on social media, and asked them, where do you like to hang out? And mostly you can see where people, where your ideal client is. If they are maybe a younger generation, they're going to hang out on TikTok. They're going to hang out on Instagram. If they're a little bit older, Facebook, that's where they're going to hang out. If they're more established and really focused on their professional life and their business, they're going to hang out on LinkedIn. I would suggest always choose 1 or 2 platforms to focus on, and you can still repurpose that content, but make sure that you're using an appropriate voice so you can read the room, so to say.
So where can people find you?
Like I said, Instagram, I love to play on Instagram. So you can find me at Ashley K. Falletta, 2 L's, 2 T's. And you can visit me also on LinkedIn at Ashley Falletta. And my website is www.ashleyfalletta.com.
Thank you very much. You're listening to KHS 1220 and 98.1 FM with my co-host, Tracy. Thank you very much. Have a great week.
Thank you for tuning in to the Ask Brien radio show. You can listen to us every Thursday on KTHS AM 1220 and FM 98.1, or via Facebook Live, or anytime wherever you listen to your podcasts. Visit AskBrien.com to join the conversation and ask us your business questions, and we'll answer them on our next episode. That's AskBrien.com.